Elizabeth Warren's anti-crypto army candidates are losing in the elections. One of them has just taken a big loss, saying Elizabeth Warren cost her her career in Congress. And CFTC chairman testified today before Congress, saying the SEC's Prometheum stance with Ethereum could cause problems between the agencies because Prometheum is treating Ethereum as a security. And El Salvador's Bitcoin holdings hit a record $164 million as the profits passed 50 million. We're going to break this down and much more. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. It supports the podcast and it doesn't cost you anything. Well, folks, let's take a look at Bitcoin right now, still consolidating as we've been talking about. Bitcoin's going to consolidate here, build some support levels. It may even go a bit lower, but that's fine. This is a healthy pullback. We are building support levels to go to higher prices, so we have to be patient. Now, the altcoins continue to move. Ethereum today was looking really strong. It is currently sitting at $3,800. It looks like it wants to go to new all-time highs as well. So we'll pay close attention to this, and other altcoins are popping off. In fact, we have the AI tokens going crazy, going on a rampage. Render, FET.ai, Trace as well. And I hold both Render and FET. You guys know that. I talked about it since December 2022. AI tokens will have a huge narrative, a huge opportunity here in this bull market. And I've took some profits on FET. I'm waiting to take some profits on Render, but beautiful call on that, and I'm thankful and I'm taking profits. And once again, guys, you may not become a millionaire from holding these tokens, and that's fine, but you may walk away with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on these tokens. And it's a nice return as long as you're making money and walking away from this market with money at the end of the bull market cycle. You're winning. So please have some perspective on that. Great things are ahead. Now, Mark Cuban was on CNBC. He was interviewed and giving Bitcoin some prime time view, where he said Bitcoin is a great store of value, and that's why he's invested in it. Those of us who are in crypto, we know Mark has been bullish on crypto year after year. He's had NFTs and much more. The Dallas Mavericks at one point were accepting crypto and all that jazz. So Bitcoin getting a lot of mainstream media prime time exposure here. So great to see what's happening. Now, El Salvador Bitcoin holdings hit a record $164 million as Bitcoin profits passed $50 million. There are a lot of naysayers, a lot of people writing negative articles about El Salvador, and their president has actually been trolling. He's been tweeting memes like waiting for the apologies, waiting for the retractment of those articles that, saying El Salvador is making the hugest mistake in the history of the world, but they are up in their holdings, folks. So let me give you some details here. The latest data from monitoring resource Bitcoin treasuries estimates that El Salvador's Bitcoin holdings are up $50 million against their cost basis. Bitcoin was first approved as legal tender in El Salvador in 2022, and since then, the country's stash has gone from bear market rags to record riches. Since its president Nayib Bukele announced the government would start purchasing 1 Bitcoin per day, it has amassed approximately 2,380 Bitcoin, which is valued at around $158.5 million. Folks, this is going to set a new standard, and expect game theory to play out that other countries are going to do this. Now, I'm not talking about first world superpower countries like the United States or China and so forth, right? It's going to start with smaller countries who are looking to boost their GDP and boost economic activity. They're going to do this. And El Salvador is a great model here for the rest of the world. So it's incredible what's happening. And the Bitcoin ETFs are going to make it easy for said countries to invest in Bitcoin. So keep an eye out on this, folks. This is going to be very interesting. Now let's look at the top social media trending coins here. I'll refresh the data from Sentiment, and the meme coins are ruling the social media mentions. Dog with hat. That is leading with a large positive sentiment. Shiba Inu is at number 2. We got FET.ai. We just talked about some AI tokens. Track as well. That's another AI token. The Near protocol at 5. Dogecoin at 6. Ethereum at 7. Dent at 8, but it has a very high negative sentiment at 50.53%. So I'm not sure what's going on with Dent. Node or Whole Network, which the token name is Node. And then you have Ton Token. I've never heard of that. So those are your top 10 trending. And once again, meme coins dominating the list here because meme coins have been going crazy. Obviously, you got some AI tokens sprinkled in there. So this is what's happening on social media with these coins, folks. Now, quick word from our sponsor, and that is BitGo. BitGo is one of the top crypto custodians in the market. They are a tier 1 crypto custodian. They have survived many bull and bear markets, and they are used by Pantera Capital, Bitstamp, Bitcoin IRA, Maple, and many other big firms. Some of the features they have include hot wallets, custodial wallets, self-managed cold wallets, and NFT wallets. So they are doing some big things, working with many big brands. And I'm a big fan of this platform, and I know the founder, which is Mike Belshi. I've had him on the podcast many times. Mike is a Web 1.0 and 2.0 legend. The man has done some great things in the internet in the early days, and now he's here building in Web 3. So if you'd like to learn more about BitGo, visit bitgo.com. Link will be in the description. Now, folks, some very important news that you should know about. Many of you know Elizabeth Warren is anti-crypto. She ran on the campaign that she's building an anti-crypto army. She has been colluding with scumbag regulator Gary Gensler. We know they have been coordinating attacks against the industry. Well, there are people who are tied to Elizabeth Warren and who are part of her anti-crypto army. Well, yesterday you had the Super Tuesday elections start, right? Well, here's some interesting news. Eleanor Terry of Fox Business reported crypto super PAC Fair Shake, which mounted a $10 million ad campaign against Katie Porter, and she's the one that's aligned with Elizabeth Warren, released the below statement following her defeat to Adam Schiff in tonight's California Senate primary, saying her choice to side with Senator Elizabeth Warren, listen to this, against crypto cost her her career in Congress. Wow. Wow. What an epic defeat for Elizabeth Warren, folks. This goes a far way because Elizabeth Warren is only as strong as some of the people who are backing her and tied with her. Remember, if she's just by herself saying, I'm building an army, no one's going to care. But when she has other cronies positioned across the country, right, that are trying to be anti-crypto just because they want to kiss her ass, and they're losing, that's a great win for the crypto industry. And this is why I've been sharing with you guys that these super PACs have been raising funds from Coinbase, from Ripple, from Andreessen Horowitz, and they're using it to build awareness of these corrupt politicians like Elizabeth Warren, who are against freedom from people being able to invest in crypto and much more, right? So this is huge news. And here's something else that Eleanor shared. She said, in addition to Adam Schiff's win over Katie Porter in California, other pro-crypto candidates in Texas and Alabama had dominant first place finishes in their races. Alabama's Shamari Figures, is that the name? I apologize. Yes, I guess that's his name. Shamari Figures will head to a Democratic primary runoff in April with Julie Johnson in Texas secured over 50% of the vote to put her in the running for, it says here, Colin Allared's seat in November. Folks, the pro-crypto candidates, they got some momentum here. We're seeing some wins coming in. And this is what I've been saying for a long time. Crypto is a ballot issue. Now, it's not a number one issue. It's not number two, probably not number three. It may be number 5 or 6, right? Because let's be realistic. There's all the problems in the country, inflation, the border, and all that, right? We want to be realistic here. And the fact that, you know, these pro-crypto candidates are winning is a good sign. And I think we saw that when the presidential candidates came out and they were supporting crypto, you know, like Ron DeSantis, RFK Jr., as well as Vivek Ramaswamy. So, folks, something very interesting is happening here. Crypto in politics and playing a huge role. Elizabeth Warren chose the wrong side, and she's going to feel the results of that in the polls. And we know John Deaton, Our friend John Deaton is running against her to take away that seat. And I believe John can win. He's going to get the support. He's going to get the ad campaigns from these super PACs. And we got to donate to him. So please donate if you haven't already. John Deaton for Senate. Guys, please donate if you, and he's accepting crypto now. So whatever you can do to support him would be awesome. But this is guys, I'm super happy to see this. This is a great, great sign. I'm telling you, Elizabeth Warren and her camp right now are not happy. And that's why she's been so scared. She's been sending out tons of email. She's been asking other Democrats from other states to come help her to fight John Deaton. John is still trying to raise money as someone who has no political background, but is a fighter and believes in freedom and the American Constitution versus Elizabeth Warren, right? So, guys, she's scared, and I think this is a sign right here of what's to come. Now, today, CFTC Chairman Rostin Behnam was testifying before Congress, and some interesting statements came up. And here's the headline. CFTC Behnam says Prometheum's ETH stance could create interagency conflict. Bitcoin and Ether are commodities, Behnam said, but if the SEC claims otherwise, things could get complicated. Remember what I've been saying, and I interviewed Aaron Kaplan of Prometheum. They are calling Ethereum, Prometheum that is, digital asset securities. Who has been saying that? Gary Gensler. He's the one that coined that term, digital asset securities, and he refuses to echo Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman and say Ethereum is not a security. Patrick McHenry and the rest of Congress grilled the hell out of him, and he wouldn't say. And we just saw they denied the BlackRock Ethereum ETF. Now, we'll have to wait and see, but clearly Rostin Behnam is saying, hey, we're seeing some deviation from how the agency has acted in the past because we believe it is a commodity. And if the agency says it's a security, we're going to have problems. That's the TLDR. So folks, it's going to be very interesting. But, the industry is going to sue the hell out of Gary Gensler if he denies the ETFs by the May 23rd deadline. And we saw he lost already in court. But, Elizabeth Warren, his handler, may make him and force him to go against the industry and deny the ETFs. But we'll have to wait and see. Nevertheless, we're going to fight and we're going to win because the law is on our side. And remember, the SEC got called arbitrary and capricious for denying the Grayscale Bitcoin spot ETF. Here's a quote from Behnam today. From my understanding, essentially reading the press and talking to my staff who have reached out to the SEC, this was an independent decision by Prometheum to signal to the market that it is their intent to custody Ether, Behnam said when asked about how the CFTC views Ether. So these statements are not good for Gensler because it just shows that there needs to be crypto regulations. While Gary will say it's very clear, the rules are clear, there's no need to do anything, right? But that's his talking points handed down for him from Elizabeth Warren. Here's another quote. How this plays obviously is very critical. The issue is we do have an action by the SEC essentially validating Prometheum's decision, constituting Ether as a security. It will then put our registrants or exchanges who list Ether as a futures contract of sort or in non-compliance of the SEC rules as opposed to the CFTC rules. So this is going to be very interesting. And this is why Congress needs to act because Gary Gensler is out of control. And here you got the other agencies just saying, like, we're not in agreement with what's happening here with what the SEC is doing with Prometheum. Now, yesterday we talked about Shapeshift and the SEC going after them, issuing a cease and desist, and then Shapeshift decided to settle, but it was like for $275,000, and they were claiming the SEC was claiming that it was for stuff that happened back in 2014 to 2021, kind of retroactively going after them, which is asinine because the business model has changed. They're not a centralized exchange anymore; they're a decentralized exchange. Well, Hester Peirce and Mark Ueda, I would know a surprise here. They issued a dissent and highlighting the following. The SEC, one, doesn't specify which of the 79 assets might constitute investment contracts. So what was interesting in the settlement, no mention of the actual tokens. So maybe Gary Gensler, scumbag regulator Gary Gensler, was getting called out, in the Coinbase and Kraken lawsuit where they were highlighting tokens, but not giving those tokens due process and litigating them individually, right? He's trying to sneak the tokens in, saying these are securities, and don't ask me why. I just picked them random tokens, right? The sneaky scumbag move. Number two here, doesn't allege any fraud or consumer harm occurred. So once again, this was a bullshit move by Gary here. And he's just trying to rack up wins because he's been taking major losses. And from a PR standpoint, it's been horrible for the SEC. But great to see Hester person Marky Wader coming out and dissenting. And some of you may say, hey, I'm tired of all the talk. Well, this is part of the process, right? In order for Congress to act, for them to have ammo, it's good that these commissioners are coming out and saying, hey, this is wrong. We don't agree with the other commissioners. So really, really good stuff. It was a great write-up here. You guys should definitely read it. Now, Adam Cochran, who works in the crypto industry, tweeted out the following, which I thought was great. He said, if Joe Biden wants to appeal to fiscal Republicans and independents, I know a lot of single issue voters who really want to see Gary Gensler replaced with a competent chair like Hester Peirce. We've been saying that on the podcast forever, right? Put Hester Peirce as the chair. He says here, Gensler, 1, refuses to give guidance or policy to the industry. 2, bullies small U.S. startups. Example, Shapeshift, has led to the highest turnover and lowest job satisfaction rate at the SEC. A lot of people are leaving, a lot of turnover. The people are complaining about that Gary's just going nuts over there. Number 3, has lost court battles with crypto at every turn. Number 4, denied Americans access to a Bitcoin ETF until courts forced them to catch up with the rest of the world. And 5, has sent millions of jobs overseas by creating a chilling effect on fintech industries. He says here, replacing Gensler in the new administration isn't controversial, as most people don't know who he is. Those who do know don't like him. A large chunk of crypto are single issue voters. A large chunk of fiscal Republicans want to see an admin that can reach across the aisle of physical policy. He says, seems like some real low hanging fruit to commit kicking Gensler to the curb and having Hester Peirce propose some new crypto regulation, something that even Senator Elizabeth Warren calls for, but Gensler fails to deliver. So I'm in a total agreement here, and I think people are going to start to push the Biden administration to do this. Will they do it? I don't know. We'll see, especially, it depends on who wins. Now, I tweeted at Gary Gensler today because I'm sure some of you saw New York Community Bank crash 42%. They had to halt trading. Some are saying this is a banking crisis. Remember last year, a whole bunch of bank collapses and the Fed did some backdoor stuff to help them out. And the stock price is crashing heavily. So I tweeted at Gary and I said, hey, Gary Gensler, is this the industry that is rife with fraud, as you would say? You were talking about the regulated banking industry, right? But of course, crickets from Gary Gensler, crickets from Elizabeth Warren. They just want to push the narrative that crypto is this, rife with fraud. Everything in crypto is a fraud, and it's the rules are clear, and this is blah blah blah. And well, J.P. Morgan and these big banks get issued fines every year for breaking the law. They were banking guys like Jeffrey Epstein and much more, right? And you just see all this nonsense happening. But this is the point. They're trying to push the narrative on the masses who are not fully educated on these things, who are passively looking at crypto and just catching headlines. But this is why we need to amplify the facts and expose these corrupt bureaucrats and corrupt politicians like Elizabeth Warren and expose all their lies. Now, we got a report here that the SEC claims Binance US unwilling to give info, requests court intervenes. Binance US isn't answering important questions the SEC claims, but the crypto exchange says further requests exceeded the regulator's bounds. So I don't blame Binance for not wanting to work with them. After all they've been through, they're probably like, whatever, we don't care. So BAM Trading Services, doing business as Binance US, has been unable or unwilling to answer requests for information concerning the custody of customer assets, the SEC alleged in a March 5th joint status report to a Washington, D.C. district court. It asked the court to intervene to speed up the discovery process. So, it's funny, the SEC and these government folks, they break the laws. They don't care about the laws, right? As we've been seeing in the courts, yet they're like, why are you not following the law? Right? It's like you guys are such hypocrites, and you don't even uphold the law or care about the law. And this is why the judges have threatened sanctions. They have called the SEC that they lacked a faithful allegiance to the law. In the grayscale case, they were called arbitrary and capricious. It's unbelievable what we're dealing with, but maybe this is a symptom of big government, right? You have these agencies just running amok and they don't care about the law, and they become they have gotten too much power, and there needs to be some sort of reset here and recalibration. And I love Congressman Warren Davidson's proposal to have the restructuring of the SEC to make it less political, and to avoid things like this where you have a scumbag like Gary Gensler running the SEC. So we'll see what they do here, what the judge and the courts decide to do. But it's funny that the SEC is complaining, right? When they often delay things, when they often use shady tactics, when they're supposed to be the good guys abiding by the law, right? But they're not. So it's funny. They're getting a taste of their own medicine right now. Now, many of you know Avalanche is a great blockchain. I hold the Avax token in my portfolio. Yesterday, we talked about Coachella. They're going to launch their ticket NFTs on the Avalanche blockchain. Well, we got news here that Avalanche releases Durango upgrade, unveils teleporter to boost subnet interoperability. Now, John Wu of Ava Labs, which works on Avalanche, I interviewed him a couple weeks ago. I'm sure many of you remember that. If you haven't seen that, be sure to check it out. Avalanche is doing some great things. So Avalanche developers launched Teleporter to enhance the communication across its subnet ecosystem. Teleporter aims to unify Avalanche's network of application-specific chains, addressing network fragmentation. It is built on Avalanche's warp messaging and supports EVM-compatible subnets, particularly the C chain. So great update here. And Avalanche is a blockchain to watch, folks, and not financial advice, but an example. Many of you may have seen the news. Citibank and JP Morgan are testing tokenization in Avalanche. I just told you guys about the Coachella music event tickets on there. So check it out, research it, do your own research, obviously. But this is certainly one of the projects I think will be in the winner, and I've added it to my portfolio. Now, quick word from our other sponsor, and that is VeChain. This is one of the top enterprise grade layer 1 blockchains out there, building ton of use cases in Web3. They've done great things with supply chain management, tracking, and traceability. They're working with big brands such as PwC, BMW, Walmart China, as well as the Boston Consulting Group to build a decentralized app ecosystem. Folks, I am so bullish on this project. I have been for years. I've been holding the VET token for years, and I'm a believer in this project. Once again, I hold the token, and this is why I have accepted them as a sponsor, because I believe in it. And this blockchain is very energy efficient, very scalable, great speed and security. So many big brands are working with them. If you'd like to learn more about VeChain, visit vchain.org. Link will be in the description. Thank you for watching and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the free email newsletter, link in the description. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and all the social platforms, all the links in the description, guys. Thank you, and I'll talk to you all later.